China's real estate crisis spreads, Hebei workers collectively demand wages. Blackstone founder sells 11 logistics parks in China after $40,000 dinner with Xi Jinping. APEC summit clashes, anti-communist versus little pinks, pepper spray and bloodshed. Fudging statistics is the sickness of China. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China's real estate crisis spreads, Hebei workers collectively demand wages. The intensifying crisis in the Chinese real estate market is evident through the emergence of wage disputes across different regions. Specifically, at the Phoenix City Phase 4 project in the Zhangjiago Economic Development Zone, the issue has persisted for a month without resolution, as construction workers have not received their rightful pay. On November 16, hundreds of workers congregated at the local city government's entrance to assert their wage claims and were met with violent eviction by the police. Real estate agents in Zhangjiago disclosed that due to a substantial drop in property prices and sluggish sales, many developers are unable to settle their debts. Consequently, wage disputes have emerged in some of the city's developments, resulting in construction halts and leaving projects unfinished. They added that it takes 2 years for local new properties to obtain property ownership certificates. This delay is attributed to developers using the properties under construction as collateral, resulting in 90% of the houses in Phoenix City Phase 2 lacking property ownership certificates. The Phase 3 properties, recently handed over, experienced a 1-year delay due to insufficient funding from the developer. Many houses from these 2 phases are still awaiting sale. It is understood that Phoenix City is located near the Zhangjiago city government, and the highest price per square meter for the Phase 3 houses was once 12,000 yuan, roughly $1,664, but has now dropped to 7,000 yuan, roughly $970.70. Last year, more than 200 workers collectively demanded unpaid wages from the developer. With the construction of Phase 4, consisting of 16 buildings, there is a risk of unfinished projects due to wage arrears. Blackstone founder sells 11 logistics parks in China after $40,000 dinner with Xi Jinping. After the meeting between CCP leader Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden, a dinner was held with notable figures from American Silicon Valley and Wall Street. The New York Times reported that a ticket to sit at Xi Jinping's main table cost $40,000. While public perception may see dinners among world leaders as involving extravagant expenses, tickets were quickly purchased by various business tycoons. Notable individuals on the guest list included Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, and Stephen Schwarzman, the CEO of a significant Wall Street fund and the founder of the Blackstone Group. On the night of November 15, Xi Jinping delivered a speech at the banquet titled "Gathering the Forces of the Two Peoples, Advancing the Cause of China-US Friendship." He expressed China's readiness to be a partner and friend to the United States, outlining initiatives for the next 5 years, including inviting 50,000 American youths to China for exchange and learning, as well as the revival of panda diplomacy. However, executives present were surprised and disappointed that Xi Jinping's lengthy speech, spanning over 5,000 words, made no mention of the investment and trade issues concerning the business community. There was also no gesture of reassurance to entrepreneurs increasingly uneasy due to China's challenging business environment. Immediately following the $40,000 dinner with Xi Jinping, there was a significant move by an American giant, namely the founder of the Blackstone Group, the world's largest alternative asset management company, Stephen Schwarzman. According to reports from the paper, Blackstone Group is currently selling 11 logistics parks in China, with the total value of the assets being sold exceeding 100 billion yuan. An inquiry has been made to Blackstone Group about the sale, but the group has not yet responded. These 11 logistics parks are located in 11 cities, including Longfor Nanjing Binzhong Cold Chain Logistics Park, Longfor Guangzhou Airport Logistics Park, and Longfor Foshan Nanhai Logistics Park, with a total floor area of about 2.2 million square meters and an average occupancy rate of approximately 80%. Among them, Guangzhou Airport Logistics Park is the largest in scale, with a planned total floor area of over 1.2 million square meters. Analysts quoted by the paper note that investment firms might typically engage in quick transactions for smaller projects, but for larger deals like the Longfor Guangzhou Airport Logistics Park, Blackstone Group completed the acquisition less than 2 years ago. It is atypical for long-term investments to be sold off in such a short period after acquisition. Analysts state that Schwartzman is a longtime friend of Wang Qishan, the former vice president of the CCP, and his presence at the main table with Xi Jinping after the meeting is undoubtedly an attempt to obtain important information. The quick sale of the 11 Chinese logistics parks right after accompanying Xi Jinping for dinner indicates that she did not provide the answers the business community wanted to hear. Analysts suggest that Schwartzman still harbors concerns about the current economic decline in the CCP. Selling these assets signals a lack of optimism about China's foreign trade and economy. Overseas analysts believe that we are already witnessing the withdrawal of many foreign companies, foreign capital, and foreign businesses from China. They have come to realize that under the CCP system, it is impossible to obtain the benefits and profits that should naturally be gained in a free world, free market, and free economy. If the American business community still harbors such fantasies about the CCP, it means they are in for another round, another group of people, and another round of losses. Historian and Feiyuan University professor, Dr. Zhang Tianliang, stated that Xi Jinping's speech has a dual nature. On one hand, it seems an attempt to encourage American companies to utilize their financial resources and influence to ease tensions between China and the U.S., suggesting a lack of sincerity on Xi Jinping's part. On the other hand, Xi does not make any commitments to engage in business or investment with them. Dr. Zhang remarked, "You can imagine how low emotional intelligence someone must have to write such a foolish speech, so those executives are very disappointed." Xi Jinping's speech not only left the U.S. business community dissatisfied but also failed to sway the Chinese stock market, which continued its decline. On the 16th, the Hang Seng China Enterprises Index closed down 1.4%, leading the decline among major Asian stock indices. This followed a 4% rise in the index on the previous trading day. The Shanghai and Shenzhen 300 index also ended its two-day upward trend, experiencing a nearly 1% decline on the 16th. A fund manager in Singapore remarked that in the short term, the investment landscape in China may remain complicated. APEC summit clashes, anti-communist versus little pinks, pepper spray and bloodshed. Also in connection with Xi Jinping's visit to the United States, Sound of Hope reports a series of protests spreading across San Francisco. On the 17th, these demonstrations intensified, resulting in confrontations between protesters and pro-government individuals who used pepper spray against the protesters. Chen Chuang, the executive director of the National Committee of the Chinese Democratic Party, suffered injuries to his eyes from being hit with pepper spray, necessitating urgent medical attention. Chen later recounted to Sound of Hope that they recklessly attacked democratic individuals, Falun Gong practitioners, Tibetans, and Hong Kong protesters. He added, "The CCP has recruited over 1,000 pro-CCP individuals, suggesting this might be attributed to Xi Jinping not having visited the U.S. for over 6 years, and they want to make a strong impression. Perhaps, it's also because this might be Xi Jinping's last visit to the U.S., so they are behaving very arrogantly." Following the outbreak of violence, Zhi Lijian, the executive director of the youth department of the Chinese Democratic Party, was arrested by the police, and there have been no updates on his status. Earlier, the San Francisco police had stated that they would permit protest activities but would take action if conflicts escalated. Wang Zhongwei, the minister of the Chinese Democratic Party's new media department, informed Radio Free Asia that besides spending money to welcome crowds, the Chinese consulate also paid a high price to hire enforcers. "Today, we found another type of person. He was paid 800 yuan by the CCP specifically to engage in fights." He further added that in the upcoming confrontations, everyone should be careful, as these people are resorting to sinister tricks. Notably, according to the disclosure of Zhao Longyan, a former mainland Chinese media person, those welcoming Xi Jinping are not only little pinks but also prostitutes. He revealed on the social media platform X, during Xi Jinping's visit, because they couldn't gather enough welcoming people, the Chinese consulate purchased many Chinese individuals engaged in the U.S. sex industry to welcome him, paying each person $200 per day. Mr. Wang Dan, leader of the 1989 pro-democracy movement in China, posted on Facebook, mentioning that in the evening, Xi Jinping relocated to the hotel where he was hosting a dinner for top executives of major American companies. However, numerous street intersections around the hotel were already blocked, and despite attempting to circle around, they were unable to reach the hotel entrance. Wang Dan expressed that it's truly embarrassing for someone aspiring to be a world leader to fear the people to such an extent. According to the Central News Agency on the 17th, Xi Jinping had initially planned to visit San Francisco's Chinatown on that day but abruptly canceled the plan, possibly due to the large number of protesters. Fudging statistics is the sickness of China. China always tries to make statistics look better than they really are, and this practice has serious consequences. This is the argument in the article Costs of Fudging Statistics, published November 15, written by Mr. Ichiro Suzuki. Mr. Ichiro Suzuki is an advisory group member at Mayo Center for Asset Management at Darden School of Business, University of Virginia. According to the author, China's economic statistics can't be taken at face value. This has been well understood among economists and investors for years. The country always tries to make them look better than they really are, reporting more or less inflated numbers. It's been said that electricity consumption numbers better represent the state of the Chinese economy than gross domestic product. It is believed that electricity numbers are more difficult to fudge than growth rates and, hence, closer to the truth. This tendency to make themselves look better is attributed to a combination of a variety of factors: aspiration, inferiority complex, vanity, national pride, a big ego, etc. The Middle Kingdom has to be better than it is today, CCP leaders think. Otherwise, they would find it difficult to impose their will on other countries, especially those in the developing world. The tendency appears to have intensified the past 10 years, since Xi Jinping rose to the leadership, succeeding Hu Jintao. Xi Jinping is a great deal more nationalistic than his predecessors in the past few decades, without much tolerance for revealing China's negative side to the world. Announcements of key economic numbers are delayed if they are believed to offend Xi Jinping's disposition, and these numbers could be trusted even less than those in the past. It is anyone's guess how much deviation there is between the official size of the Chinese economy at $17.7 trillion and whatever the reality is, assuming reported growth numbers have been inflated for years. The same is true for other statistics, such as the ones supplied by international institutions. Birth rates and other demography-related numbers are widely questioned too. China's fertility rate at 1.2 is already lower than Japan's 1.3, according to the United Nations. There is a reasonable chance that it is lower than 1.2, considering unique factors that exert pressure on demography in China, a greater number of men than women in the market, with the former bound by an obligation to buy a house before marriage. On top of it, educated women are enjoying their careers, with zero interest in marrying below to men who went to a lesser school and are earning less. Of course, it is exceptionally hard to make a best guess out of officially supplied opaque data. More seriously, official non-performing loans, NPLs, numbers are definitely lower than what they really are today and will be in the future. This one is lower as opposed to the vast majority of others that are higher. NPLs are monsters that keep growing as the economy underperforms expectations. Subpar growth keeps creating new loans that are not paid back in time as borrowers struggle amid a challenging economic environment. The longer the economy struggles, the greater the size of NPLs becomes. No government dares to predict shockingly large NPLs until they are forced to, and China is no exception. China's intense desire to make things look better has serious consequences. In the case of NPLs, the government is always behind the game in fighting growing NPLs and becomes an obstacle to restoring the economy's health. On economic growth, fudged data leads to excessive capacity. Excessively large capacity has always been a problem in the Chinese economy since a decade ago, when its growth rates began marked deceleration. This leads to high operating leverage that hurts profitability in the economy. Excessive capacity also tends to exert downward pressure on prices since the market is flooded with sellers who want to dump their products at any price. A weak profit environment is a recipe for greater NPLs that, in turn, stun policymakers. A desire to fudge statistics gives rise to wider supply/demand gaps, thus hurting the economy. One solution Xi Jinping brought to narrow the gap was the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. From one perspective, BRI is considered as a policy of exporting excess inventory of materials and construction workers, and it has not been known as boosting local employment in the aid recipient countries. In Xi Jinping's China, there is, nonetheless, one thing that keeps telling the truth, defying the autocratic ruler: the stock market. Economic statistics can be fudged. Foreign exchange and bond markets can be manipulated, to a certain extent. The Bank of Japan, for example, is a master manipulator of the bond market. The stock market, however, can't be bent to the will of the ruler, telling the emperor that he has no clothes. Xi Jinping must be wishing that his country didn't have a market that has no hesitation to deliver bad news as well as good. He simply ignores the market, it seems. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.